Thank you, Suresh sir and Manisha, for this wonderful program. I'm so much elated and I'm so much privileged and happy to be with you in this very, very special program of NASO linked to the NASA. In fact, I wanted to listen to you more, listen to others, rather than giving this address or talk what you said special. I'm not going to speak special one, but just my, few exclamations, some of my feelings that is coming out when I'm participating in this very important meeting, very important webinar. All my respected participants, especially the young scientists, the Vice Chair of Youth Council of Nepal, Ambassador His Excellency Prakash Subedi, Secretary Dr. Sanjay Sharma, and Professor Anjana Singh, and other professors from Midwestern University, Dr. Acharya, and several I see there coming to this program. Especially when I want to speak or when I want to say something to the young participants, my young friends, I used to say, for me, space is a fascinating topic. And of course, for you as well. That's why you are participating in NASO's program today. If I say space is a fascinating thing, I might be wrong because it is void and it is utterly silent, no noise, and stark dark. A vastness is there. Then why such a silent place, a dead-like thing place, a black-like thing dark is so fascinating? Perhaps because there are stars in the space or in the sky, billions and trillions. And there are trillions and zillions of planets like my own, this Earth, an innumerable number of meteorites, and most interestingly, patches of water bodies and the black hole. Most interesting, the huge patches of water bodies and black hole for me, because I sometimes think how I would enjoy taking bath in that water of the space, and how would I feel the roller coaster in the spiral black hole. It's just imagination. I imagine, and it keeps me sometimes awakened and takes away my sleep sometimes. You may not believe, as Stephen Hawking once said, I like that guy very much. He passed away, unfortunately. He said, we are, you mean you and me, are just an advanced breed of monkeys, bandar, on a minor planet of a very average star. But we can understand the universe. That makes us something very special. And I think, as Stephen Hawking has described, I belong to that special, community that is a human being. If I tell you frankly, I'm not a space guy. I'm fascinated. That's a different thing. I'm a biology chap. I enjoy gasping at the vastness of the space only when I'm alone. Nobody's around me at that time. Otherwise, I enjoy talking philosophy of science. When I'm with my graduate students, yes, I'm a teacher actually. And I like immersing myself into the tree line data of the high altitudes in the Himalaya. Perhaps you all know that the tree lines are moving up because of global warming. Trees are moving up. Maybe they also like the space, they also like the sky. That's why they want to reach to the sky. Well, in Nepal, Himalaya, we have a laboratory, I must tell those who may not know. That laboratory is known as the Pyramid International Laboratory. At the altitude of 50, I say always. That is 5,050 meters above the sea level. Imagine 5,050 meters above the sea level, where your air pressure, your oxygen level is just half what you have at the seashore. If somebody picks me up there and put me there for 1 hour, I will go. I will die. I claim that this is the scientific research laboratory at the highest altitude in the world, very close to the space. Scott Parajinsky, that astronaut, who has been to space for 5 times, my goodness. Scott went to space for 5 times, and a medical doctor actually he was. He is from Stanford. I'm sure he passed through that laboratory in Nepal when he went to the Mount Everest in 2009 to climb it. And he did it. He was the tallest person in the world that time. Just imagine the fascination of the space to touch from everywhere. Scott did it. He went to the space and also went to the top of the mountain. And maybe would be wondering why I am bringing this Everest issue here. I had been to the laboratory and I worked there when I was young. Well, I am still young. Why no, Manisha? Also, my youngest funny. They have some similarities. Both are fascinating. Number one, Everest is also very fascinating, like the space. And they both are challenging because they both appeal to the humankind. They ask you to come. They invite you. That's why Jose Mallory, the great mountaineer who attempted Everest 97 years ago, said, because it is there. He was asked by his fellow members, why you want to climb the mountains all the time? He said, because it is there. Maybe that's why we didn't ask him, because he passed away, Stephen Hawking. Have you ever asked him, why do you want to go to space? No. Maybe he would say the same thing, because it is there. After 38 years of Jose Mallory's disappearance in the Everest, he died there. After 38 years in 1961, perhaps you remember, Yuri Gagarin, the first cosmonaut to leave the Earth and see us from the space. Otherwise, we didn't know how we looked. तपाईं कस्तो देखिन्छ भन्ने थाहै थिएन हामीलाई किनकि ऐना छैन नि पृथ्वीको. So this was the first guy who went to the space and looked at you. He said from the space, guys, the Earth is blue. Then we came to know it is blue. How pretty, he described. Gagarin said, beautiful, he said. It is incredible. And in 1969, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and he said, that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Everybody knows it. But more than that, I remember one interview by Neil Armstrong. Neil is my model. I like that guy so much. I love that guy so much. I follow his every interview. As I said, I'm fascinated by the space. Neil was a very simple guy, actually. Though he had been to the moon, he came back and he was given a very prestigious job and position at NASA, but he didn't like it. He went to become a teacher at Cincinnati. He tried to keep away from the media. He didn't like it. But in a very rare interviews, he was asked by a journalist, look, Neil, you have here the first step of the human being on the surface of the moon, and it is still there. And it is going to be there for thousands of years. And the journalist asked him, when you remember this, how do you feel? You know what did he say? Neil said, he was a very interesting guy. He said, I wish somebody goes there and erases it. What a great person. What does it mean? For me, Neil was thinking that he disturbed the nature of the moon. He might have been thinking. He was thinking, I don't know. That's just my, interpretation. That's why he wanted it to be erased, to keep the nobility of the nature, the beauty of the nature intact, undisturbed. So that was Neil. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm carried away because I said, Neil has always my, I won't talk about him so much. Let it be. So as someone, mentioned about this COVID-19 now, the lockdown is there. I know the lockdown is there, but the lockdown cannot lock your mind, your imagination, your discoveries, your research, your studies. If you check now, I tell you, I can bet with you, there are more than 100,000, 1 lakh, more than 100,000 scientific articles published on COVID-19 since it appeared in December 31st. Can you imagine? Scientists are not locked down. They are working hard 24 hours, and we have to work like that. Talking about the space and talking about the pandemic and the space, I tell you, the USA, which is still on the top, they have the highest number of infected people and the highest number of the dead people because of COVID-19. But NASA, the science, the technology, sent 2 American astronauts to the space very recently in May. Could coronavirus stop them? Tell me. At the same time, after a few weeks, China sent Tianwen first, the Mars mission in July. It's the same country who had the peril of this pandemic. And this Tianwen-1 is reaching the Mars next year in February. So there is pandemic, but there is science also. There is lockdown, but there is technology also. There are coronavirus. There is innovation as well. No matter what pandemic difficulties we have, I have so many examples how the scientists have invented new laws, new technologies. I can give you the example of Madame Curie, who discovered Little Mary, the small X-ray machine during the World War II. I can give you the example of how Sir Eddington proved the light bends and came up with a fantastic photograph which established Einstein's theory of relativity. And that was during Spanish flu 100 years ago. Could Spanish flu prevented them from the discovery? No. And this guy, Sir Isaac Newton, you know, how did he discover the laws, 3 laws of the motion? It was during the pandemic, during the Black Death, during the plague. In 1663, there was plague. His university, Cambridge, was closed. He went back to his house in Lincolnshire, some 100 kilometers away from London. During that pandemic, during that lockdown, he discovered the theory of gravity, the theory of the Principia he wrote. So pandemic, Black Death, epidemics, these are the part of the nature. Let it inspire you. Finally, I have a very inspiring statement by Lao Tzu, a great philosopher from China, the contemporary of your Gautam Buddha, my Gautam Buddha. Lao Tzu, he said, I'm again coming back to space now, okay? One man looks at the sky, that is at this space, and he wonders. This man who looks at the sky wonders. The other man also looks at the sky, but he does not wonder. Why? Because this other guy does not wonder, because he knows the limit of the sky. Only those who are foolish, they get wonder. So I let you decide, my young fellows, my young scientists, whether you want to become a foolish guy or a wise man. Thank you very much for giving me this time. I'm sorry for taking a little bit of time because I'm carried away. I was carried away because you gave me an opportunity to talk about space. Thank you, Suresh. Bye-bye. Namaste.